Game number 10 for the Boston Celtics as they head to Orlando for the second stop of their 3-game road trip. Welcome into the Celtics pregame report. I am your host, Josue Pavone for CLNS Media, alongside my guy Jared Weiss of CLNS Media, and editor of the Celtics Wire of USA Today. Yeah, he's a very busy man, but he's made time for his boy to preview this matchup against the Magic. What's up, Jared?
What's up, man? I guess the sad thing is I'm actually sitting in front of my workstation right now writing another piece, so the grind never stops, man.
Yeah, there's no off days for you, man. You stay working.
Yeah, the weekends are just more relaxed work days for me at this point. It's work days in my underwear, basically.
Well, Jared, the Celtics are certainly the hottest team in the NBA right now. So, I mean, they're cruising on a 7-game winning streak. They're looking to make it 8 tonight in Orlando. What has impressed you the most about this group that is coming off their most impressive win of the season, beating the Thunder in OKC?
You know, honestly, for everything about the group in its totality, it's the fact that Kyrie and Horford are figuring each other out really fast. And we saw them basically run the same type of actions that they ran with Isaiah Thomas last season to win that game against Oklahoma. And I thought they were going to lose that game because I figured they wouldn't be able to do this. That their system, which has worked so well over the last 2 weeks, was going to come to a grind against a team that can actually dominate like Oklahoma can. And I think that happened for the most part, but then they did what they did last year, which is why this is how you get to the number 1 seed in the conference, is you have 2 guys that can take over at the end of the game so that when the other team beats your game plan, you can still just go back to simple pick and pop stuff with them and dominate. And Kyrie and Horford are already doing it in the way that Horford and Isaiah were last year. Isaiah was an MVP candidate last year. If Kyrie is already picking this up, then who knows? Maybe that could happen for him this year.
So with the news of Jahlil Okafor wanting out of Philly breaking this week, I mean, what's your stance on the possibility of the Celtics making a trade for him? Should Boston even take a chance on a guy like that? And if so, what do you think it will take to bring him in?
Well, it'll take nothing. It's really how little nothing does it take. So he has the least amount of trade value of any player in the NBA that's being legitimately shopped. It's been kind of shocking, honestly, to see how his value has fallen off. He doesn't make sense for this team in that he doesn't bring anything that they really need except for potential, which you can never have enough of. So if Boston wants to give up a conditional second-round pick in the future that might end up just turning into cash considerations, then I think that makes sense as far as giving up value for him. But they have to decide, is he worth giving up, one, using their disabled player exception that they could use on another player that can bring either immediate value or potentially just more legitimate potential down the road, or and also just the roster spot. It's really the same thing, but that last roster spot, they can bring in someone that can actually give them something. Frankly, depth isn't that big of an issue right now, but they can always use another scorer or shooter. That's what Stevens and Ainge have said so far with regards to what they want to use that last roster spot with. Okafor is a scorer in a different way. Danny Ainge really likes Okafor. It's no secret. And if this is his way that he can get his hands on a guy like that he's always really wanted to try, then I say why not. But frankly, I just don't really see it with Okafor, and I think the universe tends to agree with me on that one.
This edition of the Celtics pregame report is being brought to you by Greats.com, the makers of great, classic, stylish, and comfortable sneakers sold at a great price. Head to Greats.com and enter the promo code Celtics Roundtable to save 15% off of your first purchase. That's Greats.com. Use the promo code Celtics Roundtable to get 15% off. Jared, the Orlando Magic have certainly had some impressive wins under their belt this season. I mean, blowout wins against the Cavaliers, one against the San Antonio Spurs. Are the Magic a sleeper team to make the playoffs this year, or are they still ways away from contending?
They're right behind the Celtics now. They're only a game behind them. Records don't mean a ton at this point of the season because it's such a small sample size, but they've been playing great so far this year. They lost to Chicago on the 3rd, which definitely was an ugly loss. They got their butts kicked in that one. Orlando, they've always had a lot of solid talent, and they've never had really good talent. And now, all of a sudden, Aaron Gordon is turning into really good talent. Evan Fournier has been pretty much perfect so far this year. So they're really starting to put it together here. I don't see any reason why they're going to fall off dramatically if Gordon can continue to play at a pretty elite level. But I would be surprised if he's able to keep it up quite that much. But sure, he's been a guy that's always been projected to be a potential all-star, and he's showing those projections, coming to fruition now. So, hell, 500 might be enough to get you like the 4th seed in the East this year. Who knows?
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, man, Aaron Gordon's been looking like a baby Blake Griffin. I'm still kicking myself for not picking him in my fantasy draft. And of course, Vucevic is also continuing to do what he usually does. But what do you think of that front court? Can that front court be a potential? Are those guys going to keep growing? Are they going to be the anchors of this team in the future? And if so, I mean, like you said, the Eastern Conference is weak. If they could stick around and be a playoff team for years to come, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're a team on the upswing, obviously. So, yeah, they should stick around for a while. Vucevic, I mean, I don't see him dramatically improving that much more in his career. I think he's in his prime already. I mean, guys continue to improve throughout their prime. Just look at, Brook Lopez, who, I was going to say Blake Griffin, both of those guys. Those are guys that have become good three-point shooters over the course of their prime and are now pretty good defenders as well. So those, all these guys will continue to improve throughout their prime, and I think Vucevic will do that as well. But Gordon is still scratching the surface on who he can become. He can become literally almost as good as Blake Griffin, and Blake Griffin's probably one of the 10 best players in the NBA right now, and has been for a while. So yeah, there's a lot of potential there. Elfrid Payton, I still don't know what's going to happen with him. Yeah, he might not be there anymore. But Jonathan Isaac is a very, very, very promising wing that if Gordon is playing the way that he's playing right now at the 4, and they can put Isaac next to him and have him be a great off-ball player and a great defender, they're really putting the pieces in place for them to be a dynamite team, especially with Fournier shooting the way he's shooting right now. He's been lights out. He's really playing like the guy that they hoped for when they gave him that big contract. So, Orlando, right now, I don't see them having a path to being a competitor in the way that Boston and Milwaukee and Philadelphia do, but they definitely have a path to being a perennial, good Eastern Conference team in the way that Toronto and Washington have been.
All right, Jared, prediction time. Who wins tonight?
Man, I mean, it's hard to predict the Celtics winning 8 straight, especially against an Orlando team that's been so good so far. But that loss against Chicago for Orlando was a red flag for me. So I'm gonna go with Boston. I've usually never wanted to pick a winning streak to keep going like that, but I mean, that red flag in the Chicago loss was pretty brutal to me. So I'm gonna go with Boston on this one.
The winning streak stretches to 8. You heard it here first, right here on Celtics pregame report from Jared Weiss. He is Jared Weiss of Celtics Wire and CLNS Media. Give him a follow on Twitter if you haven't already. This is a must follow for all Celtics fans. He has it all covered. Jared, thanks for checking in, and I'll see you soon, man.
Peace out, bro.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Celtics pregame report. Special thanks to Jared once again for joining me, and of course to everyone who tuned in to yet another edition of the Celtics pregame report. Make sure you check out the postgame show on clnsmedia.com. You can join the program by dialing 347-215-7771 after the game to get on the air. Or just like this show, you can also listen to it on demand, anytime, any place, and anywhere on the CLNS Media mobile app. For weekday shows, they air on the Celtics Newsfeed channel on iTunes, Stitcher, and the CLNS Radio mobile app. For today's Boston Celtics pregame report with Josue Pavone, this is Josue Pavone signing off.